Good morning, students. Today we are going to begin a new lesson, uh, lesson number 2.5, The Happy Prince. Children, we shall begin with a nice quote. The greatest sacrifice is when you sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of someone else. I'll repeat, the greatest sacrifice is when you sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of someone else. So, children, before we begin, open page number 45, The Happy Prince. This is a touching story about the statue of a happy prince and a swallow. It shows the strength of love, compassion, generosity, and friendship, and the rewards. Swallow is a small bird with a short bill that is pointed, that has pointed wings and a deeply forked tail. It feeds on insects. So, in short, this is a story of a happy prince who had lived a happy life and had died as a happy man. He was immortalized high above the city as a golden and bejeweled statue. For the first time, this royal prince sees the sufferings, poverty, and misery of the common people uh, uh, from the top of the uh, from the top as a statue. Sharing his sympathetic view with the swallow, the prince persuades the bird to postpone its migration and instead deliver its gold leafing and his jewels to the needy. While helping, the bird dies due to cold, and the statue, which bears no more jewels and the gold, is removed and melted. The story conveys a message of sacrifice and selflessness. The conclusion of the story is that a true and good prince or king will never tolerate the sufferings of his people. He will do everything to make them happy. Ironically, the prince never got the chance to see the sufferings of the people when he was alive. Let us know about the author. Oscar Wilde was an Irish poet and playwright. He was the most popular playwright in London. He was born on 16th October in Ireland and he died on 30th November 1900 in France. Short stories written by him are The Canterville Ghost, The Selfish Giant, The Remarkable Rocket, The Picture of the Dorian Gray. Children, before we begin the lesson, let us do warming up activity. Now, there are different types of short stories. Use a dictionary, internet, and find out what each of the following types refers to. Children, let us just learn what are these all types of stories. So, fables, you must have read many fables in your early childhood. Fables are moral bearing stories with animal characters. Uh, Example, the ant and the grasshopper, or the lion and the mouse, etc. So, such stories have animal characters and they usually convey a moral message. Okay. The second one is anecdote. Anecdote is a short, amusing account of an incident. Uh, It is like narrating any incident which can cause some kind of amusement. On the third place is fairy tale. Fairy tale is a story having supernatural characters. Now, children, um fairy tales, example, the elves and the shoemaker, or the beauty and the beast, etc. Then, parable is a story having religious base and a message or a moral. Then comes tragedy. Tragedy are stories which are serious and end in a tragedy. Then comes the humorous story. Such stories are stories which causing laughter and amusement. They are comic. Next comes the next kind of story is the detective story. The plot of the story revolves around the investigation and solving of a crime, mostly like stories of Sherlock Holmes, etc. And myth. Myth is originated in ancient times, authorship unknown. Children, a myth is a traditional story with an author that is usually uh, with an author unknown, and such myths are usually written to intended to teach a lesson, explain one of the many mysteries of life, or explain a phenomena of nature, or describe the customs, institutions, or religion rights of people, etc. So, children, the next part of the warming up is grammar, which we shall be doing later at the end of the lesson. So, we'll move on to the lesson explanation. The Happy Prince. The statue of the Happy Prince stood high above the city. It was covered with gold. Its eyes were bright blue jewels, and a red jewel hung from its waist. Everyone thought that it was very beautiful. Why aren't you like the Happy Prince? Mothers said to the little boys when they cried. Sad men looked at the statue and said, I am glad that someone in the world is happy. So, children, this the statue of the Happy Prince stood high above in the city, and it was all covered with gold, and it was bejeweled. Bejeweled means it had jewels uh, on it. One was a red jewel which hung up from its waist. You can see in the textbook picture, and two jewels were in his eyes. Bright blue jewels were studded in his eyes. So, as it was a statue, uh, people would always admire this statue because it was a statue of a happy prince. Okay, and mothers would always ask their kids that why aren't you like this happy prince? Why do you need to cry? And sad men around in the city would look at the statue and say, Alas, there's at least someone who is glad in this world. Let us move on to the next para. One night, a little swallow flew alone over the city. His friends had gone away, but he had stayed behind for 6 weeks. Where can I stay tonight? He thought. Then he saw the statue. I will stay there, he thought. It is high up, so there's plenty of fresh air. He landed between the feet of the happy prince. I have a golden bedroom, he thought. But as he put his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. He looked up. That is very strange, he thought. There is not a cloud in the sky, but it is raining. Now, children, One night, what happened? A little swallow uh, uh, flew alone over the city. His friends had moved on to another place, and he had stayed behind for 6 weeks. So he wanted to take rest at night, and he was searching for a better place. So he saw that statue which was very tall. So he thought that I shall take rest over here so that I can get fresh air. Now, so when he landed near the feet of the happy prince, as the statue was completely covered with gold, obviously the bird thought that he had a golden bedroom, a golden bed to sleep tonight. But as he put his head under his wing to sleep, a large drop of water fell on him. So he looked up and he felt very strange because the sky was very clear. It was not cloudy and there were no signs of rain actually. Let us move on to the next para. Then another drop fell. I cannot stay on a statue that does not keep me dry, he thought. I must find another place. And he decided to fly away. But as he opened his wings, a third drop fell. He looked up and saw. Ah, what did he see? Now, children, uh, uh, he thought that why should he sleep where he could not be kept dry? So he wanted to search another place where he could sleep properly. So he decided to fly. But as he opened his wings, another drop fell and he looked up and uh, he exclaimed that what did he see? He exclaimed, ah! And what did he see? The eyes of the happy prince were full of tears. Tears rolled down his golden face. The face was very beautiful in the moonlight, and the swallow felt sorry for him. So, what did he see? That the eyes of the happy prince were full of tears, and tears rolled down his golden face. So, and in the moonlight, his face was appearing beautiful. So the swallow felt sorry for him. Who are you? Asked the bird. He said, I am the happy prince. Then why are you crying? I am wet with your tears. So this is what they have a conversation. This is a conversation between the happy prince and the bird. Children, will stop here today. This is all for today. Rest of the lesson will continue in parts in the coming periods. Till then, you read the lesson carefully. The language is very simple. As you can see that there are hardly any word meanings in the margins. So the language is very simple. You can read the lesson, entire lesson, and be prepared for the next period. Thank you.